Now, I want to start off with asking you what inspired you to choose a career in personal branding? Why not a different career path? And when I was
Okay.
thinking about a different career path, like I was thinking, why not copywriting? Like you're
Mhm.
really good at writing like your LinkedIn posts.
Oh, well, thank you.
So when I read it, I'm like, wow, she's really good at like storytelling.
Yeah, well, no, well, that's part of what I do for my personal branding. Well, here's the thing. I know a lot of your listeners are entrepreneurs, and a year ago on the 31st, just a few days ago on this taping, I celebrated my 1 year anniversary being an entrepreneur. So I was in marketing,
Congrats.
PR, in my previous role, worked out for years, and just kind of hit a plateau, like most of us, right?
Yeah.
And I realized, really, 5 years I wasted just not stepping out into my zone. So all those years when I was sort of consulting on the side, word of mouth, I was helping like these expert. I was in the professional services space with attorneys and insurance executives, people like that, and I would kind of help them with their social media or their branding or whatever. And I just realized I loved helping these people because you have a direct access. They're usually like the decision makers, change makers. They're seeing big visionary things. They're doing. They want
Hmm.
big things. So
Right.
um, you know, people love doing with companies, but there's so much red tape and slow. I love seeing the impact immediately. So I honed down this past year, became a story brand marketing guide, a certified marketing guide, and then I got certified. And I work also with Brand Builders Group. We're a personal branding strategy group in Nashville, and so
Nice.
I through them in my own work, I work with people all over who are building their personal brands as the face of their business. And it could be authors, it could be speakers, marketers. I do a lot of marketers too, believe it or not, who are building communities or publishing a book. So just because they're fascinating people and they stepped out of their own and want to make change, and they usually and we deal with at Brand Builders Group mission driven messengers, and that's
Mm,
exactly who I like supporting.
that's awesome. Yeah. And with the yeah, because it really encompasses a lot of things. It's not just
Hmm.
copywriting. Copywriting
Hmm.
is maybe a form of the whole pie, right? Or a
Yes.
piece of the whole pie, better say.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's probably why I do it too, because I tend to get bored easily. So this
Nah.
lets me help people with their deep dive branding, working on their messaging, positioning, strategic stuff. I help them with coaching, a little bit of consulting. We'll write their website copy together or their emails. So there's a writing component. There's the marketing
Right.
funnel component. There's a little, helping with their podcast. There's a little bit of everything, and that's what's exciting to me. It's one big mix we put together for them. So
Mm.
never a dull moment.
Yeah, so that leads me into my next question for you that I have is what is your process when it comes to personal branding? Because everyone does it differently, right?
Yes, yes, totally. Well, I mean, I was in personal branding, and then I do my implementation work separately with my brand authority. We'll work on implementation. And then when I work with brand builders, we do 4 stages there, where there's 4 stages. There's the branding stage, the marketing, the selling, then the scaling. So
Mm.
when I personally are doing implementation work with people, we start with foundation. You need to know exactly who you serve, obviously, because every
Right.
business is serving a problem or fixing a problem. And then, why a lot of entrepreneurs fail at some marketing or social media because they just get right in there, start posting social media or putting a website up, and they haven't really done that important deep dive. And like, it's
Mm.
kind of the not fun part because it's hard because you have to like go, oh my gosh, who am I? What do I stand for? What do I serve? What's my one problem? What's my message? What makes me unique? So we get so crystal clear in that, and people either really love it or kind of struggle with it, but I help them through it because I know you cannot grow and then do your marketing and your
Right.
selling and scaling unless that's all set up. So it's really like purpose. I get for me when I do implementation work with my agency side, my consulting side, I do we do our purpose stuff. I always ask people like, what's your why? Because that's going to be our umbrella driving thing. And we work on your branding, brand messaging. Then we get to your marketing and content and all that. And then we work on your visibility. And then we
Mm.
just keep scaling that because visibility's got to be consistent, and it's all
Right.
driven by content and consistency. So that's what I work. That's how I work. So I call it purpose, position, packaging, publishing, and then proof. And because you got to get that proof in there.
Right. Now, if somebody comes to you for copywriting, how
Hmm.
do you position it or tailor it to the personal branding? Or is it just like, oh, that's an easy sell. because it is personal branding.
Yes, yes. Well, if they've already dialed in, I could tell right away how dialed in they are. Because I also have implementation partners. Like if I have someone who comes to me like they are so dialed in and they just need help with an email funnel or something, because
Right.
I do more of the high level strategic coaching consulting. So I do some writing, but not like, I wouldn't call myself a copywriter. So I'll work with one of my collaborative partners who all they want to do is copywriting, right? So I have people I work with that I fit people at the right place, or I have a web designer. So, this person needs like a really good, because I say, you hone down on a social media platform, but you got to hone down on your home base.
Right.
So website's huge for a lot of personal brands. So I work with that, and then a designer. So I got all the tools, and the people who I've vetted are like really good at and love personal branding too. So
That's
that's
awesome.
what they yeah.
Yeah, and it's good that you have those resources because, yeah, you never know what you're going to get when it
Yes.
comes to inquiries. Um,
Exactly.
but
And
it's
I
good you,
have and
yeah,
I have referrals like in StoryBrand too. Like I had someone book a call with me the other day, and I wasn't a fit. He was a company, and so I found 4 people for him to and I connected him, because here's the thing, we're not always a fit, either in industry or personality or whatever. And so I never want to turn anyone ever away. Like if
right.
I can't help them, I'm going to find someone for you.
I do the same thing. That's awesome, and that's
Yeah.
customer service right there. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah. Now, I did have another question. So, say a company already went through personal branding. Say it was 5, 10 years ago, right?
mhm,
Um, well, one, how often should a company rebrand?
mhm,
And then two is what do you do? Like, what's your process for rebranding a company? Does it
mhm.
change or is it the same?
Well, because I work with more personal brands, I work with like the person, because there are, I'm doing more entrepreneurs now, but there are those executives and those companies now who are seeing that the path to developing their C-suite or their CEO or their top level people as a, being more active on social media as a personal brand, not in the
Hmm.
traditional sense, but to drive it back to the company. That's
Right.
huge. And you're seeing a lot more of that now, right? So I'm working more with that. But companies branding, if they're continuously listening to their customers and pivoting and all that, they should be having a really tight brand. It's when they didn't do that deep work, then they're usually off base. But if you're constantly, listening to your customer and pivoting, and but it starts with the good values and the foundation. Because if you just throw something together, people are going to see right through it. So if you
Right.
don't have a deep dive brand, I suggest you come back and do one, because and it's harder, because if you don't do it and then you start doing something and there's PR crisis or something, it's just harder. You like it just
Hmm.
kind of all falls apart. So it works for PR too. You got to be dialed in to, pitch the stories and all that. You can't just make stuff up. People see
Right.
right, you
Oh,
know.
definitely. And you mentioned I now focus on entrepreneurs. Is there a reason why you now focus on entrepreneurs?
Yes, yes, because I am the walking example of what not to do. Okay. So in my previous
That
job,
is a good point.
yes, yes, and at Brand Builders, we say we're always uniquely qualified to help the people we once were, and that was me. And my thing is, if you spent, like me, years building someone else's brand, neglected your own, when you leave your job to become an entrepreneur, what does that leave you? So, little story here, I worked in marketing for a professional. I was executive director. I was in the, we did huge events, all this stuff. I was doing all this stuff, great stuff in marketing PR. I have a master's in PR. But the thing about it is, when I'd meet people, I didn't define my personal brand. When I'd meet people, they thought I worked in insurance, and I would get so mad at them. Not that anything wrong with insurance, but I'm a marketer and PR, and that was my fault. I didn't define my brand.
Mm,
Okay, and all those years when I was thinking about wanting to leave my job, I should have been building my platform. I should have been, blogging or reaching out more on LinkedIn and letting people know who I was, stepping out from
right.
behind. So anyway, when I left my job a year ago, although I had all this great experience, I realized, oh wow, I didn't have a personal brand. So
Mm,
I hate that. I can't go back. So now, just like the old saying, the best time to plant a tree was yesterday, the second best time is today. You can start now today. And the fastest way I'm recommending people, if they're in the LinkedIn space, is to hop on LinkedIn and start posting daily. It is phenomenal. The reach right now won't probably
right.
last forever, but only 99%, or only 1% rather, of the 750 million people on there post. Isn't that
That
crazy?
that is, yes, there's a lot of room for opportunities there.
Yes, yes. So, and then, so I just started, posting and getting out there, and opportunities come your way. It's amazing. So I suggest people just start now. If you think you're going to be leaving your job or want to leave your job, start now.
That's
Start
really
putting
great
yourself out
advice.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people, like for me, for example, we started when I left and did JRM Web Marketing, which is website design development company, and
Hmm.
I was doing it full time. Then I had the time or made the time to do all that branding for the company, right? And it
Hmm.
wasn't until like 2020 last year
Hmm.
where I got a lot of advice from my industry partners to like, you have so much information
Hmm.
and just share it.
Yep.
And to me, it became personal branding, right?
Hmm.
Where it was Jesus McDonald, it shifted from Jeremy marketing the company to Jesus McDonald. And
Hmm.
yes, there's still stuff going on here and we're pushing out content, but it was like the face of the company more
Yeah.
than anything, right?
Yes.
And when I did that pivot, I saw way more increase
Yep.
than doing it from the company type branding,
Hmm.
which company branding is not bad. It's just if you want real results, the personal
Totally.
branding
Yeah.
is totally where it's at. I think it tripled. Like it was
That's
crazy.
amazing. Good for
Yeah.
you. Yeah. That's really
And
good. I guess that's why your podcast helps too, because has your name in it, right?
the podcast helps too. Yes.
Hmm.
And you know what's crazy, Michelle? I wasn't even thinking about personal branding this whole time.
You just did it.
I just did it because they're just my thoughts, my experience, my ideas,
Yeah.
um, things that I really wanted just to help, small business owners, entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
marketing professionals. Like
Mhm.
I experiment a lot with digital marketing. So I'm like, hey, here's my findings. Here's
Mhm.
what worked, what didn't work. You don't have to go through all that because it's all here.
Yeah, that's smart. People need that. Like I always say we're inundated with information, but starving for wisdom and knowledge.
Mm,
You can go
I
Google
like that.
anything in the world, but we need someone to help us see through that. There's just too much coming at us. So if you have this trusted expert, right,
Hmm.
like you, and people are just gravitating to that. And so you're so right about doing what you did, because you've got to just, it doesn't take even much. People are like, oh, I'm scared to put myself out there. Well, you think about it this way: it's not you putting yourself out there, it's just taking what you know to help others. So
Right.
you switch that around and it's so much easier. So you don't focus on you, it's focusing on what do I know to help others, just like you said,
Exactly.
right?
It's